Some movies are like pure chaos, right? You got noise, energy, movement, colors all over the place. And The Mask is definitely one of those movies. But when you slow down a little bit and you actually take time to look at it, you start to notice how carefully it was actually made. Because underneath all the cartoony physics and the rubber masks and the makeup, this is a film built at a very particular moment in time when practical effects and performance and early CGI or digital special effects were really meeting for the first time. And Arrow Video's new limited edition 4K of this movie really gives that moment of cinematic history the room it needs to breathe. Let's check it out. All right, collectors, released in 1994, The Mask is one of the movies that made Jim Carrey a household name in the industry. It came in that little pocket of time right between Ace Ventura and Dumb and Dumber. But unlike those other comedies of his, this one really had a visual ambition that I don't think those other comedies had. It's part gangster movie, but also part romantic comedy. It's also got that live action cartoon feel to it, almost like a Roger Rabbit type of vibe. And what I'll say is that Jim Carrey is actually an exceptional actor, right? And this movie, more so than the others, I think really allows us to explore and see the range that he has. The character he plays, Stanley Ipkiss, is soft-spoken, awkward, almost invisible, right? His shoulders are often hunched down. His movements are careful. His expressions are very subtle. But then he puts the mask on and his whole body becomes elastic. His face stretches. His posture explodes outward. Every gesture is exaggerated, theatrical, almost completely animated. And that's not just special effects. That is performance. And it's kind of incredible to see, honestly. And throughout this performance, what's really easy to miss is how quickly he shifts between the two characters and their two personalities. From big, explosive, cartoonish energy straight into moments of real vulnerability. There's a sweetness to the character of Stanley that anchors the whole film together, right? Without that, the mask itself is just noise. And what I loved seeing in this while rewatching it is how instead of replacing the performance with effects, the visuals of the movie were actually built around the performance instead of the other way around. And we need to remember 1994, this is, early digital work. This was before special effects were super slick and smooth the way we expect them to be now. So they had to find ways for those transformations to still feel connected to the sets, to the lighting, and to the physical world around it. So they had to be experimental about it and think outside the box. It's kind of messy, but it's very playful and very intentional. So I say bravo to the team and to Jim Carrey for finding ways to mesh performance with practical and CGI effects. Also, in terms of performances, I discovered that this was the first film for Cameron Diaz. I didn't realize this until the opening credits were going and it said introducing Cameron Diaz, which I think is pretty cool. She's done a lot since then, and it's kind of nice to see where she started. And I've got to give some props to the production team and to the writers for this story, because it could have been very easy for her character to simply be eye candy. But there's at least an attempt here to make her more than that. She makes her own choices. She isn't simply a damsel throughout the movie who is in need of being saved, though it does kind of lean in that direction at some points. It's trying, right? The script is trying, but still, as an introductory role for her, she brings a lot of warmth and presence that balances this cartoony chaos that the rest of the movie has. But let's talk about intentionality, right? Let's take this sense of intention and see how it carries through the release itself. Arrow's limited edition comes in a sturdy, oversized slipcase with new artwork, right? So inside, once you remove the outer slipcase, you'll find the box set with the 4K UHD disc on the inside, as well as a booklet with essays and archival materials. There's also a poster, which is a pretty nice touch. It's the kind of set you don't just kind of shelve and forget about. This is meant to be open and explored. It's meant to be kind of flipped through for you to spend a few minutes with it before the movie even starts. There's a small ritual to it. And I think that ritual is part of why physical media still matters. All right. As for the transfer itself, it looks fantastic. The film was restored from its original camera negative, and the image just feels more stable and natural than any of the prior releases. Colors are rich, especially in the nightclub scenes that include that famous yellow suit. But I'd say also just in the nighttime scenes in general. The maracas dance scene out with the police force is also a highlight, with all of the police lights and spotlights and reflections happening. It looks really good. Skin tones are more lifelike as well. And the film grain structure is also solid. But what I'd say one of the biggest benefits of the 4K transfer is something that's almost invisible. Because when the image is stable and the colors feel right, when the grain isn't too noisy or distracting, you stop thinking about the format. You stop thinking about, does this look good? How am I experiencing this? And what it does is it gives you now the space to just notice the craft, right? You start paying attention to the performances, the expressions on the faces. You notice the sets, the lighting. With this release, you can really see the precision of Jim Carrey's performance, how controlled he actually is underneath all of that chaos. What a good 4K presentation will do is not actually just make the movie look better. What it'll do is remove all of those distractions so you can actually appreciate what was already there. And this movie, this release does it exquisitely well. And for you audio lovers, I would say the audio is just as strong. This was remastered in Dolby Atmos, and the sound design actually gives the score more body and warmth than I had noticed before. The dialogue is very clear. The cartoonish sound effects are perfect, right? All the spinning and the honks and the crashes. A perfect scene to highlight this is when he's making the balloon animals and then pulls out the Tommy gun. Every single sound has just a satisfying punch to it. It's not necessarily an aggressive modern remix of what you'd be used to, but it feels full and balanced and faithful to what the film is. Now, Arrow also offers a solid selection of extras, which do include newly filmed interviews with cast and crew behind the scenes on how things were not only made but choreographed, some audio commentaries, and other goodies. It helps you see the movie as less of a 90s comedy and, more of a transitional piece of filmmaking. So I know the question you're asking now is this worth picking up? And I'd say if you love The Mask or if you grew up with it, this is easily the best it's ever looked or sounded. But what I appreciate most about this release is how it slows the movie down. It turns something loud and chaotic into something you can actually study and appreciate. You start to see the craft, the timing, the performances, the early digital work, how they had to work through kinks and think outside the box. And holding a set like this, flipping through the booklet, watching the film with intention, it reminds you that movies are things that people make, right? We consume, but we don't often think about what it takes to put this together. And sometimes the way we choose to own these movies, how we display them on our shelves, how we respect them, take time to notice them, says just as much about us as the films themselves. But without getting too existential on you, I'll just say this one looks and sounds fantastic. So if you enjoy physical media, thoughtful reviews, and just spending a little bit more time with those things that we watch and appreciate and love, then consider subscribing. We have more to come, but until then, I'm curious, what is a performance that you appreciate now more than you did the first time you saw it? Leave a comment. Let us know. Keep the discussion going on. Until then, keep on collecting. I'll see you next time.